In a deep green forest, where the tall trees seemed to whisper secrets to each other, a young man came running. Tears streamed down his face, and his heart was heavy with pain. He stopped in front of an old sage, who was sitting under a large tree, calm and peaceful. The young man fell to his knees, his body shaking with sorrow. "Help me, wise one," he cried. "I have lost everything. Thieves attacked me in the forest and took all my belongings. I have nothing left, not even a way to get back home. How can life be so unfair? My life is over." The sage looked at him kindly and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not worry, my child," the sage said. "Whatever happens, happens for a good reason." The young man's sadness turned to anger. "How can you say that? This is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. How can losing everything be good for me?" The sage smiled gently. "Let me tell you a story," he said. A long time ago, in a small village by the rivers, there lived a poor farmer with his wife and young son. They had very little, a tiny house and some grain stored for food. One year, a terrible flood came. The strong waters washed away their home, their crops, and their animals. The family lost everything, even the little food they had saved. The farmer sat on the muddy ground, holding his head in his hands. "How will we survive now?" he cried. "This is the end for us." But his young son, full of hope, said, "Father, don't worry. Whatever happens, happens for a good reason." The farmer, angry and frustrated, shouted at his son, "How can you say that? Everything is gone. There is nothing good about this." In his anger, the farmer pushed his son out of the house and said, "Leave. You are no longer my son." Heartbroken and crying, the boy left the house. As the day turned into evening, the farmer began to regret his harsh words. "What have I done?" he thought. But it was too late. That night, a rescue boat arrived in the village to save the people from the flood. The farmer's wife smiled and said, "See, our son was right. Help has come." But the farmer shook his head. "How can you say that? We have lost everything: our home, our food, even precious memories. What good can come from this?" Days turned into weeks, and the farmer and his wife struggled to survive. One day, the farmer's wife said, "Why don't you go to the city and look for work? Maybe we can start over." The farmer agreed and walked for days, searching for work. Many people turned him away, and he started to lose hope. But just when he was about to give up, he met a kind merchant who offered him a job and a place to stay. Years passed, and the farmer worked hard. One evening, there was a knock at his door. When he opened it, he froze in shock. Standing before him was his son, now a grown man with a big smile and a bag in his hand. "Father," the son said, "it's me. After you sent me away, I went to the city. I struggled at first, but then I found work, learned business, and started my own company. I've come to take you and Mother to live with me. Look, I even bought a new house for us." The farmer couldn't believe his ears. He hugged his son tightly and cried tears of joy. His son smiled and said, "If the flood hadn't come and you hadn't sent me away, none of this would have happened. Now we have a better life." The farmer laughed through his tears. "You were right, my son. Everything happens for a reason." The sage finished his story and looked at the young man. "Do you understand now, my child? Sometimes life takes away what we think we need to give us something even better." The young man wiped his tears. "But I've lost everything. How is this good for me?" The sage smiled and handed him a small, shiny stone. "Take this," the sage said. "I found it in the forest, and I believe it will help you." The young man looked at the stone closely. It wasn't just any stone. It was a rare and precious philosopher's stone, known for its incredible value. "Had you not lost your belongings," the sage said, "you wouldn't have come here. And if you hadn't come here, I wouldn't have given you this." take it to the city, sell it, and start a new life. The young man held the stone tightly, his heart now full of hope. He left the forest with a new understanding of life. He realized that even in the darkest moments, there might be hidden blessings waiting to be found. Life often feels unfair when we face challenges or lose something important. But every event, good or bad, can be part of a bigger plan that we don't yet understand. Hard times can lead to unexpected opportunities, just like the farmer and his son found happiness after their struggles. When life feels difficult, remember to stay patient and keep faith. What seems like a setback today might become the foundation for a brighter tomorrow. Everything truly happens for a reason, even if we can't see it right away.